Okay, so today we're going to dive into something I think we've all dreaded at one point or another.
Oh, yeah.
That awkward moment when you completely blank on someone's name.
Ugh, yeah, I've been there.
It's like the ultimate social facepalm moment.
It really is.
And for this deep dive, we're dissecting a lesson from English Pod called Embarrassing Situations and Everyday English.
Sounds like a survival guide for those cringeworthy encounters.
Exactly. And, it's so relatable because I think everyone's been there at least once.
Oh, for sure.
So in this scenario, we've got Nick and Anna. They met at a conference, and now they're running into each other again.
Okay.
But there's a twist. Nick's memory is playing hide and seek with him.
This could get interesting.
Right. So the scene opens with Nick spotting Anna and going for a casual, "How's it going?"
Yeah, much more natural than a stiff, "How are you?"
It just feels more genuine, you know?
Totally. It's like an invitation for an actual conversation.
Right. And then Nick drops this line, "I'm in a bit of a hurry."
Oh, yeah, the classic time saver.
I feel like that's my go-to phrase when I'm trying to make a graceful exit.
It's polite, but it also sets a boundary,
It's like a social escape hatch.
It is. And it's culturally acceptable. Everyone understands the busy excuse.
But here's where things take a turn for the awkward strain. Nick's mind goes blank. He has completely forgotten Anna's name.
The dreaded name lapse.
It's like your brain hits the pause button at the worst possible moment.
I know that feeling.
So Nick stumbles for a bit and then finally admits, "Your name has just slipped my mind."
Oof, I felt that one.
That makes me cringe just hearing it.
But that phrase, "slipped my mind," it's actually pretty clever. It's softer than just blurting out, "I forgot your name."
It is.
Like, it almost implies that the name was right there, but to just, wriggled away.
I like that analogy.
It's like a verbal cushion.
Definitely takes the edge off.
It does.
Compared to a blunt, "I don't remember your name."
Yeah, much less harsh. And it's interesting how Anna responds. She doesn't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, she's totally cool about it.
She says, "Don't worry about it. It happens to me all the time. I'm terrible with names, too."
Like she just brushes it off.
That's such a good strategy, though.
It is.
Because by admitting her own weakness with names, she makes Nick feel less embarrassed.
Right, it shifts the focus away from his blunder.
Exactly. And it creates a sense of shared vulnerability, like, hey, we're both human. We all have our flaws.
I love that it's like a social jujitsu move.
It really is. It neutralizes the awkwardness so smoothly.
And you know what's great about that phrase, "terrible with"? It's so versatile, you can use it for pretty much anything.
Yeah, like terrible with directions or terrible with technology.
Exactly. It's like a universal disclaimer for all our little imperfections.
And makes you instantly relatable.
And takes the pressure off.
Totally. It's like a secret weapon for awkward situations.
For the longest time, I thought forgetting names was just a sign of getting old.
Yeah, I used to think that too.
But now I realize it happens to everyone. It's not an age thing.
It's a human thing.
Totally. It's like a universal brain glitch.
Oh, and speaking of the conversation, you know how Nick mentioned being in a hurry?
Yeah.
Later on, they talk about their locations, and that phrase, "around here," comes up.
Oh, yeah. I remember noticing that.
And it made me think about all the variations of that phrase.
Like around the corner versus around there.
Right. They have such different connotations.
Totally. Around the corner feels so much closer.
It implies like you could practically see it.
While around there is more vague.
More of a general vicinity.
It's amazing how those tiny tweaks in language can paint such different pictures in our minds.
It's like a secret language of proximity.
It makes you appreciate the complexity of everyday English.
It really does. We use these phrases all the time without even thinking about the subtle nuances.
And this episode is making me realize how much power we have in shaping our interactions through language.
It's like having a toolbox of social skills.
This deep dive has been a real revelation.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I am. I feel like I'm learning so much about how to navigate those tricky social situations.
Me too. It's always good to have a refresher.
So what other gems have we uncovered from this English Pod lesson?
Yeah. It's like having a cheat sheet for those awkward moments.
It really is, and it's not just about avoiding embarrassment, It's about connecting with people, showing empathy, navigating those everyday situations with a little more grace and a little bit more humor, I think.
Right, like turning potential awkwardness into a moment of connection.
Exactly.
So let's recap some of those key phrases we've learned today, just to really solidify them in our minds.
Okay, sounds good.
We've got in a bit of a hurry for those quick getaways.
What was the handy one?
Slip my mind when a name goes MIA.
The classic memory lapse excuse.
And of course, terrible with for those relatable moments of shared imperfection.
Oh, and don't forget those variations of around here.
Oh, right. Like around the corner versus around there.
It's amazing how those subtle differences can create such distinct meanings. It's like a secret language of proximity. This deep dive has been so insightful.
I'm glad to hear that.
It really makes you appreciate the power of language and how we can use it to shape our interactions in such a positive way.
It's true. We often underestimate the impact of those little phrases and nuances.
So the next time you find yourself in a similar situation, remember those phrases, but more importantly, remember the power of empathy and humor.
Yeah, because ultimately it's about connecting with people on a human level.
Absolutely well said. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
My pleasure.
Until next time, happy language learning.